In the spotlight tonight, counting the bodies. Last week, a coroner's jury in Montana ruled that Billings police officer Grant Morrison was justified when he shot and killed an unarmed man during a traffic stop back in April. The coroner's jury decision serves as a recommendation to the district attorney's office, which then has final say on that case. Officer Morrison said he thought the man was armed. The shooting was caught on the officer's dash cam and was shown to the jury.
Hands up! All four of you, hands up! What were you doing? Why are you moving your hands around so much? You're making me nervous, man. Who are you? Richard? All of you put your hands up right now on top of the seats. Dispatch 374 here. Richard Ramirez here. Can everybody step it up? Hands up! Hands on the Get your hands up. I'm going to shoot you. I will shoot you. Hands up! Hands up! Hands up! I will shoot you again!
He did not shoot him again, but he had already killed him. The jury was also shown a dash cam video of Officer Morrison breaking down in tears after that shooting.
I thought he was going to pull a gun on me. Maybe he was. Maybe he was. Jesus Christ. You survived. Got you.
That was the second time that Officer Morrison killed someone. In 2013, he shot and killed a man who had a BB gun. From stories like this, and from the imagery on TV, cop shows, and movies, you might not realize that most police officers in America serve their entire careers without ever using their firearms in any way. Most police officers never kill anyone. Most police officers never shoot at anyone. And most police officers are never shot at. They never see or hear gunfire in the line of duty in their entire careers. That is the norm. Now, I would like to tell you exactly how many police officers do fire their guns in a typical year. I'd like to tell you exactly how many people they kill, but I can't because we don't count the bodies. In 21st century America, which keeps precise statistics on virtually everything we do as a society and as individuals, we have no idea how many people are killed by police, and we have never known. It is one of the basic law enforcement facts we need in order to evaluate how police use and abuse their power of deadly force. With the limited statistical picture we have, all indications are and have always been that most killings by police are justified, but it is very clear that not all of them are. The power to kill is the most awesome power that any government worker could possibly have. We have given that power to police, and then we have refused to monitor it. Joining me now, the congressman who wants to know how police are using their awesome power to use deadly force, Congressman Steve Cohen from Tennessee. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Congressman Cohen, and thank you very much for this bill you're introducing to try to get this data. This is data that I personally have been trying to get for 30 years since I first started writing about this subject. Tell us what your bill would obtain.
It would require all police departments, law enforcement agencies, to give to the Justice Department for collection the demographics of both the victim of lethal force used by law enforcement officers and the demographics of the officer, and the deadly force policies of the departments, any force less than lethal that was used by the officer, and the justification that the officer and the department had for the use of that deadly force. So we can have a clear picture on what's happened, and if there are skewed racial or other demographic aspects of the victims and the perpetrators.
You know, as I said, I've been trying to get at this number for just about 30 years, a little more than that. I wrote a book back then called Deadly Force, and I had to do my own criminology, my own kind of social studies to find out what this number is. And the way we were doing it then, the few of us who were trying to get it, is literally just press clips, literally just stories in newspapers. And this is pre-internet, so it was a very primitive method of trying to get it. And the number we were zeroing in on back then was about 600 a year. What we're in the methods that they're using now that include much more sophisticated use of the internet in order to get at this number, it's starting to sound like the number of these killings may be up around 1,000 and might be more than that. The number of police killed has always been much, much less than that. As you know, it's less than 100 now. It's gone down a lot over the years. But it seems to me this is just a very basic tool in order to get just a rough idea of how this awesome power is being used.
And there was a law in 1992 that's never been followed, and it said that the Justice Department needed to collect evidence on excessive force, and there was never a good definition of excessive force, and often, the departments often felt that whatever force they used was not excessive. And they made, I think, the determination that it was self-defense, or it was in the pursuit of just defending somebody else, and maybe in the limited circumstances that you can use deadly force to apprehend a fleeing felon, that was justified, so it wasn't excessive. My bill says clearly, lethal force used, and the determination of excessive is not one that would make it subjective on the part of the department, and we need to know that. I just saw the film Selma tonight. Very, very emotional film, and a film that sets America in a setting that's not so good, and it was not good. Jimmy Lee Jackson's shooting. There have been murders over the years, and those murders still are part of the psyche of America and psyche of people, particularly African Americans and liberal folks who remember those type shootings that have gone on over the years by law enforcement, and not just in the South, many in the South, but it's not just a Southern problem. And as Lyndon Johnson said in a speech about that, it's not just a Southern problem, it's an American problem. And the excessive use of force is an American problem.
Congressman Cohen, we have the image of that building behind you, the Capitol, tonight, where, as you know, many congressmen over the years have been outraged for many different reasons about things that IRS agents do. None of them involving killings by IRS agents. And here, this most awesome power that any government worker can have, the use of deadly force, and it's very hard to find members of Congress who actually care about the use of that power.
Particularly on the other side of the aisle.
Yes.
And I know we want to come together in some kumbaya moment, but there are big differences in the Democrats and the Republicans and what their priorities are. And the other side of the aisle's priorities are money. It's IRS, and it's money, and it's not about human life. And human life, whether it's funding the NIH and finding cures and treatments for disease, or whether it's getting figures and putting limitations on the use of deadly force by departments or individuals who use it excessively, are the most important thing government can do, because the difference between life and death is the most important thing in our existence, in our life, and as government officials, not how much money we have and if we can keep that money for ourselves.
Congressman Cohen, quickly before we go, the reason why no one's introduced a bill like this is because they fear the politics of it, and including Democrats. They fear anything that in any way might antagonize police, as we've seen here in New York City, Mayor de Blasio having problems like that. They fear that kind of politics.
Well, there's a lot of that fear. There are strong members, generally in the Congressional Black Caucus and or the Progressive Caucus, who do have concern. John Conyers and Bobby Scott have concern, have a bill. They passed a bill. It's not the same level and depth as mine, but they have concerns too. And then there's John Lewis, who's a saint. And as I watched Selma, I thought, what a blessing I've had to get to know John Lewis, a true saint in the United States of America who served in Congress 28 years. And as I mentioned saints, a great civil rights icon, Julian Bond, is going to celebrate his 75th birthday tomorrow, and I think everybody needs to wish him a happy birthday.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about John Conyers. He's been on this for decades. And Steve Cohen, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
You're welcome. Good to be.